Yeah. What's up, everybody? It's the Architect Beats Music Business Podcast. We are platinum producers, Architect Beats. We are your hosts. I am Juggernaut,
I am Mike Trauma D.
and together we are platinum producers, Architect Beats. Welcome to the Music Business Podcast. Every week we get
Welcome.
together and we go over music business, resources, tips, secrets, etc., just to help independent artists, producers, musicians to just get better in the music business, and give you some free game. So today, well, before I even get into our topic, if it's your first time here, welcome. Do some housekeeping. Make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, follow, whatever platform that you may be on, so Spotify, etc., so that you can get the notifications when we finally put a new episode out there. So for today, we want to go into a different type of topic. Well, not even a different type of topic, but people always are hitting us up and asking, "Hey, I have a nephew, a son, or somebody, a friend. Somebody's always trying to get into the music business." So people wanted to keep asking us, "What do we do to get started in there?" And what's the most important things to do when you're getting started in the music business? So, what we decided to do today is we decided to give you guys a little bit of a guide or a checklist for independent artists, producers, musicians, songwriters, etc. Um, on some of the top things that you should do as someone trying to get into the music business, as an artist or a producer, etc. And then some of the things that you need to do before you actually start to put music out to kind of set up your business so that your business is going to be taken care of. So it'll be twofold. It'll be one thing to get what do you need to get started initially as far as just getting into the game. And then there's some things that you need to do once you've decided that you want to make music or once you started to make music and you're ready to put things out for people to hear. There are some things that you may need to do before you do that. So we're going to jump into this and let's talk about the first few things that you need to do, or the top 5 things that you're going to need as an independent artist, musician, songwriter,
hmm
um, rapper, singer, before, to get started in the music business. So,
Well, I'm going to assume this is after we get, as a producer, you get your equipment. You
no,
know,
we want to talk about the equipment. So let's go
then
that way
then
first.
let's go there. Getting a setup. You know, making sure that you have a good computer that can has a lot of memory. You know, a lot of storage. You know, because you're going to be saving sounds. You're going to be using certain software that's going to require a lot of memory. So getting a good computer, a PC, Mac, something that's reliable, and something that you're not going to necessarily be using on the internet. You want to kind of keep it separate from the computer you use to go on the internet, pay your bills and stuff like that. You
Yeah,
want
you
a
want a dedicated
dedicated
computer for this.
computer, that you can just keep it offline, so that it won't interrupt and hog up memory and kind of keep away from viruses and all of those things. So a good computer, that's first of all. Um, you also want to make sure you get yourself some good studio monitors. Not just speakers. Not loudspeakers. There's a difference. You could go online and you could search for studio monitors, and these studio monitors usually what they do is they give a flat response. When they play music, they play it back without any what's called hype, without any extra bass, extra EQs. It's a flat, so you could get an honest feedback of what you recorded or what music is being played. And this is great for recording and mixing. Okay, so you want to make sure you get some reference studio monitors. The next thing you want to make sure you also have is a good microphone. You want it to be a microphone that um, is reliable. A microphone that is going to pick up the right sounds, the right things that you want, and You may ask, well, how do I do that? How do I pick the right microphone? You just have to do a little research, go online, and just go into some stores and just kind of a couple YouTubes, and you could kind of narrow down the various microphones that are out there. It doesn't have to be expensive, you know. The key to a lot of these microphones and the sound is the actual software. So if you have a good software with some good reverb, some good effects, you can do wonders. Okay, so let's go into software. You're gonna need good software. If you're a good DAW, whether it's a
Explain to
beat,
the people what a DAW is, because folks,
digital,
you're
you
using
know,
the jargon on them.
this is the workstation that you're going to be
Right. So
using when you're
digital audio workstation is what we
right.
call for DAW.
Right. So this is going to be the program that's going to record your audio. This is going to be where you transport your actual instruments, your sounds. This is going to be the the main area of your music. You're going to do everything in this, making beats, recording, so forth. And there's a lot of programs that's out there for that. As far as making beats, there are a ton of programs from Fruity Loops to Ableton to Machine,
Pro
uh,
Tools, even Pro Tools, you can do
even
beats too.
Pro Tools also. Um, but it's endless. As long as you can create, record, and you could learn whatever the process is. You could use it. What else are we missing? A good digital audio interface,
Right.
and you're gonna like, well, what's that? Well, that's what you're plugging everything into. That's just gonna be how you hear the music. This is how you're gonna record into your computer. All
Right.
it is like probably just a little box, and it plugs directly into your computer, and also to your monitors. Okay, and then you plug your microphone in there as well. Okay, so this is going to be kind of the control hub also.
Right.
All
It
right.
connects. It connects everything. Helps to get your all external sounds
Mm-hmm.
um digitized and get them into your system so that your system can use it, and then it can be used to help play back things, because you could play back things through your internal speakers for your computer, but that isn't really a good idea. So that's why we
Right.
use the interfaces, so you can plug the monitors to that, get the sound inside of the computer, and then you can listen to everything through your monitors as you should be, or a good pair of what we would call reference monitor headphones, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think they have those as well.
Right.
um but we kind of tell people to lean toward studio monitors versus headphones.
Right.
You can use headphones to record, but you should use your monitors to mix your music.
Yeah. Be mindful of using headphones, especially for long hours. You
Right.
can you can definitely damage.
Damage your ears.
Yeah, and that's the money maker right there. So you want to definitely protect those. All right, so we got all the equipment. Do we have all the equipment? Did I mention
So
everything?
that's the
Everything?
top. So that looks like the top five things. So let's just recap real quick. The top five things you're getting ready to start into the music business. Top five. All right, we said you're going to need a good computer or a laptop, right? Whether
Mm-hmm.
it be Mac or PC, you pick your preference, as long as it can handle the computer software and has enough memory. We
Right.
said you're going to have to get a good microphone,
Mm-hmm.
um,
There's
so
so
that
many
you can,
microphones out
so many
there.
different microphones. Just make sure that you're doing your research, doing reviews, and seeing what's going to be best for you. Going to the stores and actually testing it out, see how it sounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then we said you're going to need reference monitors, studio
Right.
monitors,
Very
right?
important.
A digital interface, digital audio
Mm-hmm.
interface, right?
Right.
And then also a digital audio works station software, which could be
Right.
either Pro Tools, Ableton, FL Studio, Logic. You pick it. But those are the
Right.
top five things that anybody wanting to start into the music business, you should have those things at minimum if you're trying to make music.
Right. We're trying to make music.
Right. Now, if you want to add keyboards and all the other stuff, you can add that other stuff, drum machines, etc. If you're a producer, if you're a musician, whatever.
Right.
Right. But at its core, you would need those five items so that you can get music going, start to get your music together, and then have the ability to export your music and upload it to where you need to upload it to after that.
Right.
So that, people, is the quote unquote starter kit or the starter guide checklist for
Right.
any particular artist. So now let's switch gears, pivot
Right.
a little bit. You passed that. You got everything. You make your music. You've been trying to get your craft good. We good now. Now we're ready to. We want to get our music heard now. Now is the time we want to get the music out to the masses.
Well, then
What
you,
a
you gotta slow down, because I know it gets pretty exciting. You're making music, you're feeling good about yourself. You probably spent months just incubating, just going in, making records, um, really learning your equipment, learning the sound. Yeah, let's let's not take that part lightly. There's an incubator period that you should take. And what I mean by that is, you know you take the time to develop your craft. You spend time sharpening your skills. If you're making beats, if you're a writer, singer, whatever it is, you got to take time. And it could be months, it could be years to some
years.
people.
Yeah.
But you have to spend time, carve out time specifically for that. Lock the door, sacrifice some time out, and really focus on those areas. And then, you know, after that, once you got that under the belt, now we could say, okay, now I'm ready to start letting people know, start to showcase my music. But before you showcase your music, you got to make sure your business is put together, because what you don't want to do is put out your music, and the next thing you know, your music is being taken, is being used, somebody else is doing this and doing that to that. So the first thing we need to do is actually start, I would say, choosing a brand, choosing a name, and starting to do research on that brand or that name that you want to take. So, for example, if your name is Arkatech Beatz,
Right.
that's the name we come up with. You go online, you start looking around. Is there another person that has this name? You start looking at the websites, social media. Does anybody have that name? You start doing your research, and seeing if that name is taken, if that name is something that is going to be beneficial for use. And then once you realize that, okay, this is available, then you can look into trademarking it. Now, trademarking is expensive, but this is a first step.
It's funny because when you're, what I see happening too often is that artists are, they're not doing the research. They're just, hey, my name is, Young Rapidy Rap, and that's my name, and they've always called me Young Rapidy Rap since I was 5. And you go online, and there's a million Young Rapidy Raps, and
Right,
you haven't. So now it creates an issue when you start to decide, now you want to put out music under Young Rapidy Rap. How do we find you?
right,
Right? Because now it's if I want to find you on social media, there's 5 other people with the same name. Or some people say Young Rapidy Rap 1. Or you know what I mean, like they you're not making a name that's going to be unique to not only just to you, but unique to the business, unique to the music music sphere, right? You have to have a name that's going to be unique. You have to have a brand that's going to be unique. Like, artists are not doing a simple Google search, right? Or even
mhm,
if they do a Google search and they see somebody with the name, they say, well, the hell, I don't care about that name. I don't
yeah,
care that somebody else had it. I'm going to do it anyway.
yeah. I'm the real so and so,
Right. I had it first, or whatever what that might be.
and
What
that
they
causes
don't
problems. It causes problems
listen,
when it's time to collect.
it causes so much issues because of that, because those are ego driven decisions. Those aren't decisions that's going to be driven by what really makes sense, because you might not be able to get the domain, you might not be able to get the social media handles, you might not be able to get the YouTube channel, right? So
Mhm.
if the names don't coincide, this creates situations for your branding, because if you go to Arkatech Beatz, you're gonna be like, okay, Twitter's Arkatech Beatz. You're gonna go to TikTok, it's Arkatech Beatz. You're gonna go to YouTube, it's Arkatech Beatz.
Right,
It's not, the handles don't change, so you're not going here and it's going to have, well, this underscore or that, because that's the problem, is because you didn't do the research, and now somebody else has the name that you can't use. So now you have a Twitter handle that's one way, spelled this way, and then you have an Instagram that's spelled that way, and then you have a YouTube that's spelled another way.
That's going to be a problem.
It's bad for your brand. So these things don't connect like they're supposed to connect, because you didn't do the research in the beginning, trying to make sure that you have a unique name for yourself as an artist, and also a name for your business, right?
Right.
What's the name for your music business? Because you have to also think that when you're doing your music as an artist, you need a business name. So is it say it's Cardi B and Cardi B Inc., right?
Mm-hmm.
That may not be real or not, but just for example, or we have Arkatech Beatz, and then we have Arkatech Beatz Entertainment, and then we have our LLCs, etc. What's going to be your business name? Right. Is it going to be the same as your artist name, or is it going to be something different? And then I think also we talked about a little bit off camera about it, but we talked about the significance of making sure that you're creating a business name that doesn't it doesn't promote.
It doesn't implement you in some sort of criminal activities, I
Right.
should say.
Right.
Like you got to really think long term. Eventually, when you want to go apply for business loans, and you want to make sure that when they're reading the business application, or the whatever the proposal, like, don't be like Crap Boy Records, or no disrespect if that is a real, but it
it limits you.
It limits you. It limits your opportunities. It limits the funding you can get. It also kind of puts you in a certain circle. It puts you over here, so that now you cannot get some of these opportunities. You can't get this funding. You can't get all of these, like, maybe grants or certain things. You just X yourself out of these things because of what you decided to name your company.
And an example of that, and Irv Gotti talks about that a lot with the name of Murder Inc., right? Because when the trouble came, right, when the trouble came for the organization, as far as the accusations, etc., because the company was named a particular way and it had a certain street moniker, everyone wanted to separate themselves from them.
Yeah.
No one gave them the benefit of the doubt at all. They just said, hey, we're stepping away from you guys. And he admitted, and he said that the name itself, it scared business away.
Yeah.
And that's the situation that you have to think about when you're naming yourself. Right. Uncle Murder talks about that a lot, right? That some of his opportunities might have been limited based on his name,
Yeah. It hurts C Murder also.
C Murder in terms of his case, etc.
Yeah.
Like it gave a negative connotation to certain things. So when you're choosing your name for yourself, we want to make sure that it's unique. We want to make sure that's an identifier. We want to make sure it represents who you are, but also think about it in the terms of this business, right? If your name, if your monikers, etc., if they promote, quote unquote, gang activity, right? And now they don't even say it's gang activity; they call it terrorism, right? So now, you see, if you're a gang or part of the gang, they call it like you're a domestic terrorist. So these things prevent you from just doing simple ads on your music.
Yeah.
So artists have to be a little bit more savvy in terms of making sure that they're choosing brands and monikers that don't basically put them in a situation where we have to decide if you're a career criminal or not. And that's just the reality of the situation. And in hip hop, we get it. People name themselves different things. They name themselves after gangsters, mafia people, etc., etc. I get it. It's just things that we like, the things that we enjoy. But you have to think about it long term. Is it going to stop your long term opportunities? Is it going to prevent you from being able to take the next step in getting, a bigger bag that may be able to set your family for life? So these are the things.
If you're in a situation where you've already you know, have a business like that, you may want to consider doing a DBA, you
Right.
know, to just to handle certain businesses, that you may want to get into.
So we talked about the artist establishing their name,
Hmm.
establishing their a unique, searchable name that represents the artist and their music, and also establishing a name for your company.
Hmm.
Because as you establish a name for your brand as an artist, you have to have a company because the money has to go somewhere, right?
Right.
Um, the second thing that folks have to make sure that they're doing is that they're establishing a business entity,
Right.
right? So that might be if you want to be a sole proprietor, which means that you are the business. You can
Hmm.
do that. Use your social security. Um, Typically, people don't recommend that only because it doesn't give you any protection from quote
Protect
unquote
taxes.
lawsuits.
Right.
Um, so what most folks opt to do is they opt to create some sort of business entity at the maybe at the lowest form, maybe an LLC. If people are more sophisticated, they may do an incorporation as a C corp. Those things you'll have to do research on because those entities require certain things for you to make sure that you're running them legitimately in order to get the protections.
Right.
Um, so along with that, then that will require you to get a EIN, which is an employee identification number, um, which is
All that
basically
all that is similar to your social
social
security number.
security number, right?
Okay.
But that is the number that will be attached to your business.
Right.
So if you're looking to open a bank accounts, if you're looking to go to, if you're looking to get business credit,
Right.
etc.,
That's the number.
you will need that number.
Right.
Those right now, where can you do an LLC, etc. Um, there are different places where you can do an LLC, and there are different places where you can, for the EIN number, you'll have to go to the IRS to get that.
Hmm.
I would recommend simple Google searches. There are places that we can recommend, but
Hmm.
that will be most. We'll probably wind up putting that in an article or probably in the description, so that you'll know some of the places that you can go to
And
get that.
additionally, we'll have services available that you can come to us and we can handle some of these things for you as well.
Right. So we also trying to make sure that folks, know that there are different things and different options that you can do. What's the third thing, Mike, that we said that to? So that's the first thing was establishing the name of the artist,
Hmm.
the name of the business. The second thing was making sure that we're establishing some sort of business entity. What's the
Also,
third thing?
also make sure for number one that when you're establishing a name, you got to go and trademark it. It is expensive, but I still got to put that out there. If you can't trademark it, excellent. If you can't, just remember, like as you're moving along, you're
Eventually,
gonna
you'll
have
need
to
to
keep
do
an
it.
eye on that and make sure
Yeah,
that you run back and get that thing trademarked. You know.
because not for nothing. Just true story for ourselves.
Hmm.
We had trademarked our name, and 'cause there were people that were kind of using the same spelling or whatever, and and
Hmm.
people were going to those people's social media and that sort of thing. So we had to use the trademark to kind of stop the confusion. If we if you know what I'm saying, so
Right.
we had the trademark. We were able to basically go to some of the social media platforms and say, hey, there's somebody that's kind of they're trying to get the benefit of being who we are because they do music and they
Hmm.
were producers and they having the same name. So we had to kind of create a barrier for that. And if you're an artist, the trademark is going to be the only way for you to do that. Like you said, it may be expensive. Um, and if you're not doing it in the beginning, make sure you're choosing the right type of name and make sure that you're grabbing all of the social media handles. Um, like once you find a name that no one has had, get all of the social media handles,
Right.
get the domain. Um, and then if you can afford to do the trademark, like you said,
Right. But
eventually
what
you
I
ought to
did,
do it.
but a quick story. What I did find interesting when it comes to trademarking. I remember. I don't know if I want to put the name out, but I remember lawyers reaching out to us because um, a, a part of our name was familiar to another major company, you know,
Hmm.
and um, it just really like, oh wow, this stuff works. Like they'll come for you. And after we got it clipped, it dawned on you now, right?
I just remember that now.
You, you,
Yeah,
and I thought that was kind of dope too, like how you know the brand is being protected. Like even if it's remotely similar, or
but I think we could tell the folks about it because they were trying to come for us for the name Beatz
right,
because we had Beats in our name, right? So the
right,
actual Beats company was saying, "Hey, you guys can't use the word Beats in your name," And it was like, "What do you mean we can't use the word Beats in our name? It's spelled with a Z, and we don't make headphones. Like, what do you mean
right.
we can't? What What do you mean we can't do that?" So after some back and forth,
Hmm.
we kind of got that out of here, but like you said, the protection of they tried to own the word beats.
Yeah, and if you're not careful, you get strong armed for something that you don't
Yeah.
necessarily need to be.
But that's the power of a trademark.
Yeah,
That's the power of a trademark, and that's the protections of a trademark. So for those who may feel like they can't trademark their names, just realize that that is there's protection there, and it
that's the
can
protection.
help. That's to protect your brand. So those lawyers were sending them cease and desist, and they were like, "Hey, you can't use this." We were like, well, "What you mean we can't use this?" I had this, like this ain't the same. Like, what's going on? But like you said, they made the attempt, and if we weren't establishing who we were, we could have just said okay and could have
Yeah.
relented, and didn't have to and didn't fight it, But luckily we were able to do that. So I forgot about that, man. Like, it's like how did I forget about that? Like, yeah, that was
Yeah.
interesting. Um,
Copyright is the third thing.
yeah,
Copyright before you putting out any music.
gotta copyright it.
Gotta copyright it.
We've been
And not
saying this. You're saying this thing, like, man, like, come on,
like
like
it's almost like a tagline on all of our
we
podcasts.
like the copyright kings right now. Like, we telling people copyright their music for like the last calendar year. Like, copyright your music, people. There are
Yeah.
no other ways to protect your music online.
And
I'm
stop
sorry.
and stop and stop this poor man copyright thing.
Yeah,
Mailing it
stop,
to
stop,
yourself,
stop the
man. Just
mailing it to yourself. Stop this thing where people say, "Oh, it's protected once you put it into a tangible form." Listen, I get that. We keep saying that, but you have to put yourself in a position where you can have legal recourse. If you're not copywriting it, then you basically are you're handicapping yourself from being able to take action against someone who may be impeding on your copyright. And that happens too often in this business right now. It's the wild, wild west. Like, people are snatching people's copyright. People are flipping around people's metadata. People are you know, taking portions of their music, putting it in new music, and then sending it to a DSP, and then their content ID and stuff.
the
It's a
nerds,
lot
the,
of stuff
the
going
nerds,
on.
the nerds have turned into the new bullies.
This is real. So what
You-
we're telling you is just to protect yourself. If you don't want to, that's your business. But don't say that we didn't tell you
but
that
let's
you can
but
protect
let's
yourself.
let's say it like this, man. Let's say if your record, if your song, if your music is not with the copyright.gov, then you don't have protection for it. Bottom line.
Listen, they don't understand what we're telling you from experience. Like, some of these establishments, and we're talking about even record labels, they will take your music, they will release your music, they will be collecting on your music, and they can legally not have the copyright,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they can do it. They'll do it. And if you say, "Hey, you guys don't got the copyright, right? It's my music, but you released my music, but you didn't copyright it," like, you don't have a leg to stand on.
don't have a leg to stand on, even if it is yours.
Even if it is yours. You don't have a leg to stand on. You can't sue them until you register it.
Because the number one thing they ask for is, okay, show us the copyright documentation.
If it's your music, right? If it's your
Right.
music, show us
Show
the
us
copyright.
that. We're not talking about an envelope mailed to yourself. That's not going to fly.
We're not talking about a file on your hard drive that said you created it in 1999. We're not talking about that. Like,
They want to see the documents
yeah,
that was sent to copyright, and
.gov.
they want that type of document. If you don't got it, you don't got it.
This is the game.
Copyright your music
Copyright your music.
and do it before you start putting it out.
Now, you think they got that one?
I hope so. That's number 3. Number
That's number
4.
3. Number 4.
Register yourself and music to the 3 organizations: Sound Exchange, Harry Fox Agency, and a PRO, which is Ascap, BMI, Sesac.
Right.
Those three organizations.
You got to get signed up.
Sign them up.
You got to get signed up. And the reason why you got to get signed up is that your music generates royalties. Your music will generate royalties. Once you put it out there and it starts to stream and people start to consume your music, it will generate royalties. But if you're not connected with these organizations, you can't collect the royalties.
Yeah.
If you don't collect the royalties, it goes into this thing that they call a black box. Black box royalties are basically the unclaimed, or they can't put an artist or can't put a writer or a publisher to a particular song or whatever is out there. So this stuff goes into a box and it waits for a little while. But if nobody collects it, then it's dispersed to probably your top tier artists. So they're getting money for people whose music it's not even their music. So you have to be diligent in making sure that you're collecting your royalties. And if you're not a part of any of these organizations, and we can say them again: ASCAP, BMI, or Sesac, that's the performing right organization for your performance. So if they get radio play, that's going to be the people that's collecting that. You got to go through the Sound Exchange. The Sound Exchange is basically that's different from the publisher side. That's for the actual sound recording, the actual sound itself that creates a royalty. And then we're talking about the Harry Fox, which is a reproduction of the sound, right? So that's again through a mechanical royalty again. 3 different sets of royalties, 3 different organizations. You got to be registered with all of them. We'll add in a 4th, right, which would be publishing administrator.
Yeah.
We use Songtrust for that. Songtrust, I think ASCAP and these guys, they have registration fees, anywhere between about $100. The same thing with Songtrust, they have a registration fee. What we may be able to offer some folks, if you want to go through Songtrust, that's who we use. We'll give people a code where they can get a discount on that. So that'll be a link in the description. But you have to sign up with these places. Songtrust will help to collect your money across the international landscape. And also they're very, very good with YouTube microsync royalties, which ASCAP and those guys are not really the best with. But the microsync collection of Songtrust, I just drew a blank just there, but the collection model in terms of their microsync with Songtrust is probably the best that I've seen.
Okay.
So that's number 4.
Right.
What's the last one?
Okay, so you've got your brand name, right? You registered music, copyrighted music. You're with ASCAP or BMI. You got Songtrust on deck, right? You've done all of those things, and then so you're about ready now, right? You got to register with a DSP. The DSPs is,
The digital service provider.
right. So those are the guys that's getting your music into quote unquote stores almost.
Right. Those are
You
the
know,
stores. Those are the stores now, right? So
stores, right?
Spotify, Apple Music, TikTok. Those are the stores now. Yeah.
Those are the stores now. And the good thing about it is, as long as you got everything else set up before, once it's time to put it out, you got your protection, you got everything else in place, so that will be the last thing before promo and marketing, or while you're doing promo and marketing. Okay. And you do want to, when you register with a DSP, it's going to take you time to understand how to maneuver. Every DSP has a different timeline of how they do business, how they put it out, what you need to put it out, your music out, certain lead time, certain artwork is going to be needed,
Hmm.
certain quality of music. Um, Additionally, you just want to, and I believe percentage in some cases, you know.
Right. Because yes, some don't take anything, some take percentages, right?
hmm
And there are different ones. You have to find the one that
Some
works
right.
works for you, because you got the leader right now is DistroKid. Then you got TuneCore, United Masters,
hmm
folks still use CD Baby,
I think
uh,
symphonic,
Symphonic,
um,
um,
the
you
orchard
know,
in some
the
cases.
Orchard, but the Orchard is invite only.
Right, right.
The Orchard isn't for everybody. Sorry. Um, um,
Sorry.
so, but when we go back to organizations like DistroKid, they have different payment tiers too. Like DistroKid, you pay once a year and you're gonna upload as much music as you want. The issue is that if you forget to pay 1 year, all of it comes down.
Ooh.
That's the first thing. The second thing also with DistroKid, and which I see happening with DistroKid a lot, and I know I don't want to turn this into a DistroKid bashing, but since we're talking about DSPs, DistroKid is very closely tied to Spotify. And DistroKid has this thing where they have the autonomy to decide what streams they do and don't want to pay for.
Ooh, this is a tough topic to talk about.
Right. So for new emerging artists, let's say for example, I have a 100 fans, and they're diehard fans, and I say 100 fans, hey, every night I need y'all to stream my music before y'all go to sleep. Right? Just
hmm
leave it on. These are legit streams, but DistroKid may or may not pay you. Right? And because they look at that as manipulation or so forth and so on. So it gets a little tricky when we're dealing with these folks, because the new way for you to market your music is unconventional, and you don't want to have a DSP that's too connected to the stores that benefit from not paying out royalties, if you know what I mean.
hmm
You know what I'm saying? And they
The
can
Wild
do
Wild
that,
West, man.
right? So, and they can do that to you because you're a new artist, and you don't have you can't
You don't got
do
muscle.
anything. You don't
Yeah,
got
you
any
don't got no
muscle.
muscle.
So this is a game that a lot of DSPs are playing, where they don't want to pay out royalties because it doesn't fit the way that music is consumed in terms of what they're concerned with, and then they just immediately flag it as being fraudulent, or it's a farm or something like that. But if you have a strong marketing situation, or if you got a strong fan base and you tell them, hey, play it all day while you're at work, they'll do it. You know what I mean? Keep it on repeat. But to a DSP like DistroKid, that's
hmm
so intertwined and ingrained with Spotify, they're trying to retain not paying out those royalties. Also, different DSPs, the royalties are not the same. Um,
Right. Yeah.
some pay out a little higher than others, and that's from my experience, the payouts that come from DistroKid from Spotify specifically are not as high as the ones that may come from maybe say a CD Baby or TuneCore. So that's something also people have to pay attention to. But that also might be because again, Spotify has a stake in DistroKid.
Right. Not to mention how often the payout is. You know,
Yes.
there's a difference. So you may want to when it comes to picking a DSP, you definitely have to lay them all out and pros and cons each one of them to see what's going to be beneficial for you, what's going to work for you. You know.
I didn't mean to make it turn into a distro kid bashing, but I have to share the experiences that we've had, the experience that the experiences that I've had, the experiences that we've seen.
Yeah.
It's unfair to independent artists. Independent artists have to be very, very, very savvy in terms of getting streams, and the income level is very low, right? When we're talking about that, so every stream that we try to get, we should get paid for. It should be a gatekeeper telling us, "Oh, that's not a good stream. We're not paying you for that."
Right. Or they only stream this for this amount of time, so we're not
Yeah,
going to get this.
we're not going to pay you for that, or you can't have your fans listen to it the way that you tell them to listen to it. Yes,
Right.
that's why they're your fans. So you create this situation where you only want to pay out under certain circumstances, and that
Yeah.
seems a little shady.
It's like, they decide what to pay. And that's,
It's shady.
yeah, yeah,
It's shady business. You know that, and I
that's,
know that. But this is the situation with independent artists. Independent artists are cash cows to these systems now.
yeah,
These things didn't exist when we were coming up, right?
right,
These things are cash cows to artists. So to companies like these. So like if they don't want to, if they can stop themselves from save money from paying royalties, they're going to
yeah,
do it.
yeah,
And you're not going to have any say so on it. They'll just ban your music. They'll take it
yeah.
down. They don't care. You know
And
what I mean?
what's crazy is that we call it the Wild Wild West right now because it's just a new rule, pops up almost every day.
Yeah.
This month they're gonna decide to, we're gonna pay it like this, and then next month, oh no, we're gonna remove all of this because we think it's fraudulent streaming, and then a couple months later, it's something else. So it's all over the place, and you just have to make sure that you're tapped in to what's going on, constantly, make sure that you subscribe so you can get some updates, and subscribe also to all of these DSPs and these music, uh, I would say, platforms that's giving you good information. That's key,
Right.
good and proper information, so that you can make the right decisions for your career and what you're trying to do. If you got bad information, you're gonna make bad decisions, and it's gonna hurt you in the long run. So be mindful of, again, we always say this: be mindful of who you're listening to, do your research, and stay tapped in because you need to know what's going on.
So that's the five. That's the 5 steps, right? The 5 steps we said were establish your name, establish your business, right? Establish your
Hmm.
artist name, establish your business entities,
Hmm.
uh, register, copyright your music,
Hmm.
register
Register.
yourself for the PROs
Right.
and the publishing administration through Songtrust.
Right.
And then also number 5 to sign up with the DSP,
Yeah.
DistroKid, United
Yeah.
Masters, CD Baby, TuneCore,
Yeah. But
Symphonic.
yeah.
There are more that I can't really name, but do your research. Um, don't just look for the one that you pay one price per year. There are pros and cons to that. And I think we've talked about that in different podcasts, but
Yeah.
and then the other recap was for you to get the equipment when you started and getting in. So we
Hmm.
said that was the CPU,
Hmm.
the microphone, the the
Studio
digital,
reference monitors.
the studio monitors, the audio interface, and then also the digital audio
Yeah.
workstation
Workstation.
software.
Right.
This is the playbook, people. Now there, this is for you to get started. Now there are definitely different. There are a lot of other steps as you
Hmm.
release music, and there are
Right.
different things to release music. Um, what we have started to do is we have started to meet with independent artists and, kind of uh, have consultations and making sure that their things are set up appropriately, making sure that their business is set up right, and making sure that all of their things are handled the way they need to be handled. Right. So we are starting to do that, and we are starting to meet with artists, etc. So, at the end of the day, all you need to do as an independent artist, just hit us up on the DM, right? And then we'll be able to essentially look at your music, look at your social media, kind of do an audit of what you got going on, and then really be able to kind of give you the next steps on what you need to take care of to make sure that you can set yourself up appropriately to move forward. So if you're one of those artists that um just kind of want a second look and making sure that your things are set up right, hit us up on the DM, and
Yep.
then we'll be able to, set up maybe a call or something with you to help you with that.
Absolutely.
So this is Arkatech Beatz Music Business Podcast, people.
Yes, sir.
Let me get the claps in there. All right, hold on. There we go. I don't like to use the sound effects. It's kind of cheesy on folks, but this is what we're gonna do. If you want to hit us up on the DM. If you have questions, hit
Mhm.
us up on the DM. We do have a Facebook group. If you're not part of that Facebook group, you can ask questions in that Facebook group. I know nobody likes to use Facebook right now, but that's what we're using for now until we go into our Patreon. That's going to take that's almost here, but we're just taking a little bit more time to make sure that the content is exclusive to that. And just ask us questions, shoot us a DM. We have some guests that we're trying to line up to come on, special guests, people in the music industry who have done great things, and they have really good information. So as we start to expand the platform, start looking out for that. Start looking out for more industry professionals that we'll start to have on, marketing folks, attorneys, etc., A&R folks, just so that you can kind of see the entertainment industry as a whole and get more business insight on the podcast. But until next time, we are Arkatech Beatz.
Peace.
Peace out, people.
Arkatech Beatz.